It's Wednesday, it means it's Power Rankings Day, and I want to talk a little bit about the potential Tyreek Hill Kansas City Chiefs reunion. Let's get into it. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back into Bears Den, an NFL podcast with the Chicago Bears First Focus. I'm your host, Alex, and today it's Power Rankings Day, Wednesday. We do it every Wednesday of the week. Got some movement this week as the season kind of, as we go further into the season, we kind of start seeing who the teams are, and we'll go ahead and we'll get to that in just a minute. But first, I want to talk about this rumor, and there's a lot of talk going on right now. Obviously, with Kansas City potentially losing Rashee Rice for the season, pretty interesting that we haven't really had it confirmed yet whether or not he is going to be gone for the season. I'm not quite sure what's taking so long compared to, other knee injuries that we typically kind of get confirmed within a couple hours or that next morning. So something a little bit strange going on there. But with that being said, with him gone for, at the very least a couple months, and obviously no Hollywood Brown, I think Kansas City is going to be in the market for a receiver, trying to be the first team in the Super Bowl era to three-peat, and so they're going to need to make a move, and whether that is Devontae Adams, which I think has a practically 0 to none chance of happening, just because, they're in the division with the Raiders. Don't think that'll happen, but I suppose it's a possibility. Keenan Allen, there's been some talk about the Bears potentially trying to get some draft capital back for him. Maybe that could happen. I think he brings a lot of value. I said it in yesterday's video. I think he brings a lot of value to the Bears both on and off the field. Excuse me. And I think that, unless the Bears could somehow net profit off of, because we gave a fourth for him. So if they could get something better for that, then maybe. But I think the value he brings for both Caleb and Rome is very beneficial. And then, what other receivers are out there? And there's a lot of talk about potentially calling up Miami if you're Kansas City and trying to get Tyreek Hill back. Because Miami, with the Tua injury, we don't know how long he's going to be out. It's going to be a few weeks. He's on IR. And so it's practically a lost season because they look absolutely terrible without him. So, for the sake of the sport, it would be cool. It would be exciting. I'm kind of tired of, watching Kansas City win. But it would be cool. It would be cool to see a reunion like that. It would be cool to, if they do three-peat, do it with him. I think that would be well-deserved on his part. Obviously a Hall of Fame receiver. And I think the combination of Tyreek Hill and Xavier Worthy would be absolutely lethal. So we'll see, right? Obviously, Miami would have to kind of wave the white flag, accept that this season is practically lost. But who knows, right? Who knows? It'd be cool if it happens. With that being said, we'll go ahead and we will begin the power rankings. We're going into week 5, okay? Pretty crazy. The season is flying by. It's October 2nd already. This video is a little bit later, by the way, because just was running some errands today, so I apologize for the late upload, but I'm doing my best. With that being said, might have this team a little bit too high, but from a lot of the power rankings that I'm seeing online, they have this team too low. At number 10, I'm going to put the Chicago Bears. And you might think I'm crazy for that. But this week, in week 4, they beat a good Rams team. A Rams team that just took down the defending NFC champs. A Rams team that obviously has a future Hall of Fame quarterback. Probably a Hall of Fame coach in Sean McVay. And a solid defense, right? Had some injuries, but the Bears finally kind of showed who they can be this week. The team with the bend but don't break defense. The team that can frustrate even veteran quarterbacks, can create takeaways against veteran quarterbacks. A team that's been in every single game. I think that's something that's kind of overlooked for the Bears this season, right? They're 2-2 with a rookie quarterback, where at this point last year, with a year 3 quarterback, they were 0-4, okay? So we've already improved compared to last year. And they've been in every single game. Every single game has been a one-score game. So they're close to being 4-0. You can make the argument they're close to being 0-4. Sure, that's fair. But I think this past week, really kind of stacking the offensive kind of awakening, right? In week 3, the loss against Indy, Caleb threw for 363 yards, a couple touchdowns, had a couple turnovers, but looked pretty solid overall, right? This week, looked solid again, protected the football, threw a passing touchdown, and the offense was able to operate, and the running game finally showed up. So if this team can continue building off of the success that they've had so far this season, this to me is a top 10 team in the league because of the defense. Now, I still think the offense has a ways to go, but the Bears are 2-2. They've been in every single game against, a good Houston team that they almost beat, and, an Indy team that they should have beaten. Bears at number 10. Number 9, Washington. I predicted Washington to be in the playoffs this year as the 7th seed. Jaden Daniels, I think so far has looked pretty solid. Obviously, set some records with completion percentage, looking pretty good. I do think he's a little bit overhyped by the media right now. After watching some of the tape, he is a very one-read quarterback. He's a very stare down his number one read and fire it in there. And granted, he does a good job at completing those passes. But this, to me, my fear with Washington, right, despite them being 3-1 right now, and I had belief in them, and I still do, my fear with this type of play is that it's not sustainable. Defenses are going to start figuring this out. They're going to take away the first read, and then who are we going to get at quarterback, right? So that's kind of the question. But without a doubt, through the first 3 weeks, they deserve to be in the top 10. They look good running game. Obviously, have Terry McLaurin. Got a pretty solid offensive line. Got a good coaching staff in, Cliff Kingsbury. Really wish the Bears hired him, paired him back up with Caleb, but. Washington 3-1. My fear is this sustainable? But so far they're looking pretty solid, and they've won some big games over the past couple weeks. Number 8, Green Bay. Now, Green Bay is kind of an interesting one, right? Because obviously they have one of the best coaches in the league in Matt LaFleur. And had you asked me where would I put Green Bay on the power rankings this week after the first half this past week against Minnesota, I would have said, yeah, they might fall down to the between 15 to 20 spot. But then they clawed back, and they almost won, right? And that's worth something, right? So with that being said, Jordan Love coming off the MCL injury, first game back, 3 interceptions, a lot of yards, 4 touchdowns, pretty decent game, right? If he could have protected the ball a little bit better, perhaps they win that game. But against so far the best team in the NFC this year, they put up a great fight. And, I just think with the coaching staff and what they were able to do without Jordan Love and, just kind of keep their run game going, and their defense is pretty solid. They look like one of the better teams in the NFC. Hurts to say, but it's true. And like I always say, I try my best to not be biased on this channel. And, like always with the Packers, concerns with this team are the special teams. Here we go again with the kicker, missing a lot of field goals, right? If he made some of those, perhaps they win the game. So that's a concern. And if you're a Green Bay fan, I hear you. I get it. I've been there. But Green Bay at 8. Number 7, finally they entered the power rankings this year for me. I think this is their first time in the power rankings. Baltimore. Look, they're starting to claw back. They're finding their way. They've got a big game this week against Cincinnati. That's going to be pretty exciting. But, Derrick Henry saved me in fantasy this past week. I was dead to rights, and he had an elite performance and clutched me a win. So thank you so much. I'm so grateful that I drafted you. Got some trash talk from my friends in the league for taking Derrick Henry pretty early, but I knew he would pull through, and I knew that he would be effective in Baltimore. And they look dangerous. They're taking a running game, and they're adding one of the best running backs in NFL history to that running game. They're a dangerous team. They were struggling a bit at the start of the year, but I think they're finding their footing, and they're kind of, they have a good roster. They have a good defense. They've obviously got a 2-time MVP quarterback. They're going to be a good team. Baltimore at 7. Just above them, number 6, Pittsburgh. I think that, rough loss against Indy, a game that they probably should have won. And, speaking as a Bears fan to Steelers fans, this is sometimes what you get with Justin Fields. A game that you probably should win kind of gets thrown away with some silly mistakes, some bad sacks. That's what happens. But still, Pittsburgh's 3-1. Their defense has been one of, if not the best units in the league this year. And, if Fields can get back to if he can return to protecting the ball, and playing a good game, you know, it's uh, it's a recipe for success. And it's funny because his performance was pretty similar to Caleb's performance against Indy. You know, threw for a ton of yards, made some good plays, but also had a couple mistakes, and then that kind of cost him the game. So, pretty ironic there. Number 5, just above Pittsburgh, I have Houston. Look, bouncing back, big win this week. They're 3-1. We knew this team was going to be good. It was just a matter of how good, right? And CJ Stroud, one of the better quarterbacks in the league. They've got a really good defensive unit, really good defensive line, and obviously their receiving core with Diggs and Collins and Tank Dell and so on is very, very dangerous. And it's a well-coached team with D'Amico Ryans, obviously one of the better coaches in the league, and just a dangerous team all around. And they're going to be scary for sure. Number 4, I've got Detroit. Look, huge win against an undefeated Seattle team. Jared Goff, 100% completion percentage. I thought Seattle was going to win that game. I thought that they were going to get Detroit. And, I've been talking in these videos all year so far. I think Detroit's going to take a step back, and they're going to struggle to make the playoffs. So far, it ain't looking like that. I might be wrong. It seems like, the level of coaching really matters. Dan Campbell is obviously a really damn good coach. And David Montgomery is feasting, of course. And obviously the two-headed monster with Jahmyr Gibbs. And then they've got Jameson Williams, who's making huge plays, and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Laporta and so on and so forth. So really good roster, really good coaching staff, and a veteran quarterback who's played in all of the big moments. So this is a dangerous team, and with a really, really solid offensive line as well. And so, as long as the team can stay healthy, they're going to be really, really good. Number 3, Kansas City. Look, they're 4-0, one of 2 undefeated teams in the league. But when you're undefeated, that doesn't automatically mean that you're at the top of my power rankings. They have not looked great. And somehow, they are this team that cannot look great and still win games. And that's worth something. Obviously, that's testament to Mahomes and Kelsey and Andy Reid and so on and so forth, and their defense and Chris Jones and so on. But they haven't looked great. They haven't looked like the Chiefs that we expected. And obviously now they lose Rashee Rice, and they've already lost Hollywood Brown, like I said earlier. So who is this team going to be? And until they, if they do end up bringing someone in at that receiver position, until that point, who are they going to be? What's going to happen? They're 4-0. I get it. Technically, standing-wise, the best team in the AFC, but I just think that they've been fortunate in a pretty decent amount of scenarios, right? They were fortunate that Atlanta drew up a terrible call on 4th down. They were fortunate that Isaiah Likely wasn't able to get his feet inbounds week 1. They were fortunate that Herbert, just couldn't move the ball. And that's not discounting their defense. Obviously, their defense is playing a part in these things, but it's just like when the Chiefs play their opponents, it's almost like the opponents kind of freak out that they're playing the Chiefs. And then uncharacteristic mistakes kind of happen because someone thinks that they have to be a hero. Someone has to make the big play to overcome the Chiefs, and they're able to squeak by and keep winning. So they're 4-0. They're sitting at the top of the AFC right now, but I got them in number 3 just because I don't think they've looked great. Number 2, I move them down one spot. I still have Buffalo above Kansas City because I just think, despite Buffalo coming off a pretty bad loss this past week, I think that if you were to put Buffalo against Kansas City right now, I would take Buffalo 10 out of 10 times. I think Buffalo would win the game. I just think Josh Allen's playing well. Their team is good. Defense is great. And, when he plays clean football, they look dominant. And, yeah, not too much to say about Buffalo. I'm sure some people would disagree with me having them above Kansas City, but I just think that if they were to play this week, Buffalo would beat them, and that's why I have it. And then finally, number 1, Minnesota. Look, biggest surprise of the year. I had them. I just looked at my prediction videos before I started recording this. I had Minnesota at 5 wins this year, and they're already at 4 through 4 weeks. So clearly, I was very wrong on this team. I thought Sam Darnold was going to be rough. I thought he was going to struggle, and shout out to Kevin O'Connell for being a great coach and coaching him up. And obviously, Justin Jefferson's a demon on the field. He's just insane, and O'Connell has this insane ability to just magically scheme him wide open, which I don't understand. There was a screenshot that I saw yesterday of Justin Jefferson with the ball in his hands, and there's like no one within a 10-yard radius around him, and it's like, if you're the best player on the field, like how is this guy this wide open? So, testament to the coaching staff and, Darnold obviously relying on his weapons and, obviously they got Jordan Addison and they can run the ball with Aaron Jones and their defense is pretty solid and they're a scary team and I underrated them and, I'm excited for when the Bears play them. I think it's going to be two great games, but, is this Sam Darnold level of play that we're seeing sustainable with this coaching staff? Yeah, I think it is. We'll see if that actually happens, but they look good. They look good, and it pains me to say, but man, Week 5 power rankings. I've got all 4 NFC North teams in the power rankings, and they're the best division in football, both record-wise and just the eye test. These teams are good, and it's going to be a competitive run for the title this year. So, as always, I appreciate you guys listening. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video. Really helps, grow the channel. Trying to hit 100 subscribers. I think that we can do it, and would mean the world to me. So, as always, thank you so much. Bear down. We'll see you in tomorrow's video. Peace.